Welcome to the podcast, Let the Prophet Speak. Today we will continue our study of the second book of Kings, Malachim Bet. We are in the middle of chapter 12, Perek Yud Bet. We are about to read chapter 18. We just read about this wonderful system that the king Yehoash, who we learned was doing Hayashar Be'enei Hashem, what was proper in the eyes of God. He set up a system where of honest fundraising to reduce corruption so that the money can be used to fix the Beit Hashem, to fix the temple of God. And now we're going to read of Yehoash's downfall. And interestingly, here we have no details of exactly what it really was that Yehoash did wrong. This is where this chapter differs so much from Divrei Hayamim. I do recommend, of course, that one should read the book of Chronicles to see what it was that Yehoash did. But let's focus on this chapter where it doesn't tell us what he did wrong. So, Az Ya'alech Hazael Melech Aram. At this time, after Yehoash, and all we learned that he had done so far, it seemed to be a good thing, to set up the fixing of the temple and the raising of funds in an honest way. Hazael, the arch enemy of, so far we have known, of the northern kingdom of Israel, also decided to come south. Vayilachem al Gat vayil Kedah. He came and he attacked Gat, which was a city of the Philistines, but it was much farther south, so it was much, much closer to Judah's territory than Israel's territory. Vayil Kedah, and he captured it. Vayasim Chazal panav la'alos al Yerushalayim. So once he captured one of the great Philistine cities, Chazal now turned to the next obvious victim, which is the city of Jerusalem. And what did Yehoash do, feeling threatened? Rather than fight, Yehoash thought of another plan to get Hazael away. Vayikach Yehoash melech Yehuda. Yehoash, the king of Judah, took Eis kol HaKadashim, all of the holy objects, Asher Ikdishu Yehoshaphat, that Yehoshaphat, his ancestor, had made holy and brought into the temple, V'Yehoram, V'Achazyahu, and Yehoram and Achazyahu, Avosav, all of his ancestors, Malchei Yehuda, the kings of Judah, V'Yes Kadashav, and all of his holy objects, V'Yes Kol HaZahav, and all of the gold, Hanim Tzaba Otzrot Beit Adonai, which was found in the temple treasuries, Beit HaMelech, and in the king's house. V'Yishlach LaChazal Melech Aram, and he sent it as a payment of tribute to Hazael, the king of Aram, Vayal Me'al Yerushalayim, and thus Hazael, rather than fight and capture Jerusalem as well, he took the tribute and left. He took the bribe. Now, we don't find anything about Yehoash praying for help. We don't find anything about Yehoash asking a prophet, and there certainly were prophets to whom he could have asked what to do and how to act. But instead, he took it upon himself to pay tribute by taking and by emptying the temple treasury. The very temple treasury, which we just talked about, how much he invested in building it up and setting up a system for collecting money, etc. Now he's ready to just dump it all. What happened here? What was Yehoash's failure? The only hint we get here, and remember, I'm deliberately not drawing from the book of Chronicles right now. The only hint we have here was Yehoash, his respect for the temple wasn't quite as great as one might have thought. Because remember, the Bamot Lo Saru, right? The altars that were scattered around, he didn't take away. He didn't, despite his upbringing, he didn't quite appreciate the value of the idea that there should only be one central place for worship and sacrifice. One central place to the one and only God. V'yeser divrei Yehoash v'chol asher asah, and all of the things of Yehoash and all of the things he did, halohem kisuvim al sefer divrei hayamim l'malchei Yehuda. They're all written down. In other words, if you want to know his whole story, you can go ahead and read them in the history books. This is not a history book. But here, what am I here to tell you? I'm here to tell you this lesson. That the person who spent his life and his career building up one thing, if he doesn't truly appreciate it, he'll throw it all in the garbage. If he doesn't truly know how much it's worth and truly respect how important it is, right? No matter how much he devoted to it, he'd be willing to throw it all out. which is what he did. And if you want to know more, go ahead and read the history books. And now, the next irony we're going to learn about Yehoash's life. Yehoash was the one who was saved from murder as a baby. He obviously knew this as a king, that he became king because as a baby he was taken away from, he was hidden from Atalia who wanted to kill him, right? He was saved. However, what was his end? Was in the end dying in a political assassination. Vayakumu avodav vayikshu kosher. His servants rose up against him and conspired a conspiracy. Right? Vayaku es Yoash, and they struck down Yoash Beit Milo in the Beit Milo Hayored Sila, which leads down to Sila. What exactly the Beit Milo is unclear. We had it mentioned by Shlomo. We had it several places before, but it was an area in Jerusalem, probably has something to do with water, but exactly what this is unclear. There's a lot of different ways to understand it. However, the bottom line is that the very Yehoash who started his life and got his career as a king because he was saved from being assassinated, ended up being assassinated. Because the very thing that he should have held important, which was the temple, was the very thing that he was so quick to dispose of and get rid of when he was afraid and when he was scared. The things that we think we value, if we don't truly understand why they're important, we're going to throw them out as soon as we have the slightest hint of fear. It's almost like if you imagine someone who spends his life, I'll say learning Torah because he thinks that this is important. But the moment it really matters, he won't hold on to it. He'll just throw it all out in the garbage. Someone spent his life building an institution, but at the moment the moment when he's needed the most, poof, he just lets the institution fall apart. It makes one wonder about Yehoash and his character, and this wonder is something that the prophet here just leaves us to wonder about. Like, what is it that happened? And again, like I said, in the book of Chronicles, there's more details shared. But here specifically, we don't share the details because it wants us to wonder what's going on. What happened to Yehoash? What is this? How could somebody who started off with so much promise end up being assassinated and end up dumping all of the treasures that he himself had spent so long building up? V'Yozachar ben Shemas, who are these people that assassinated him? It was Yozachar, the son of Shemas. V'Yehozavad ben Shomer, Avadav, they were his servants. Hiku, they were the ones who struck him down by Amos, and he died. V'Yikperu so im Avosav b'ir David, and they buried him with his ancestors in the city of David. V'Yimloch Amatzia v'no tachtav, and Amatzia, his son, was made king in his place, in his stead. So that sums up this very quick version of the career of Yehoash. It went up and went down, leaving us with a lot to think. What was it? How could a person have had so much promise and then end up being such a failure? We're going to leave us with that thought, something to think about, something to contemplate. This concludes chapter 12. Thank you so much for studying chapter 12 together. Looking forward to studying chapter 13 and, of course, the rest of this incredible and wonderful book of Kings.